Okay, people, it's time for us to go back behind the blue. Today, we're going to talk about the Style Points Foundry Favorites video for Destiny 2 and my creative process for making it. There were a lot of interesting decisions that led to the finished product, so let's dive right in. And here we go. This video was very exciting and very fun to make, but it was also incredibly difficult. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. There was some catharsis in it for me. Over the course of my YouTube career, many people have told me that I sound like a salesman, and some of my videos, they have this vibe to them, kind of like a commercial. And I've always took that comment to heart. I get it every so often, you know, maybe every 10 or so videos somebody tells me, oh, this is like watching a commercial, and that was cool. And I get where that comes from, because I could very easily see myself on some kind of infomercial for OxyClean or whatever. For 10 payments of $19.95, you could have this. I get it. I get where it comes from. And I thought to myself, okay, what if for one of these Foundry Favorites videos, I make the premise, I'm going to sell you this gun. That's the premise. So in keeping with that basic idea, I tried as hard as I possibly could to turn every second of the Style Points video into a commercial for different Suros weapons. Even though the script sort of guides you in this direction where we're trying to find out if Suros is worth a damn, if their weapons are more than just kind of everyman guns, there is that underlying feeling of, I'm going to sell you on this stuff. I'm going to make you want to use these. I'm going to make you want to buy them. So it was a lot of fun to embody the salesman, because I generally don't try to be a salesman, even though I went to college for advertising design, so I do have that background in trying to get people to buy shit. But that usually isn't something that I go for. But so it was very exciting for me to try to actively make each and every section of the video feel like some kind of a sales pitch. So if we go through to the introduction, there wasn't anything particularly exciting or deep about the introduction. It was just showing off the different Suros weapons, and the concept for the video, besides I'm trying to sell you something, is Suros weapons are kind of generic and boring. Most of the weapons from this foundry are considered adaptive type weapons, so they work well in all situations, but they don't have any specialization. So an adaptive auto rifle, it's good at every range, nothing special about it. It's just good. But I wanted to find out if any of the Suros weapons are a little bit more special, if they speak to that part of you that says, I want to use something that not everybody can use. I want to like something that not everybody likes. And in keeping with that sort of we are basic bitches concept, the introduction isn't anything special. Really, this is just an introduction that could have gone with any old video about any old topic related to Destiny 2. So there's not all that much to talk about. The execution is fine. It gets the job done, but there's nothing particularly fancy about it. But once we dive into the discussion of the first weapon, that's when the real sale comes in. That's when it starts to go full force. We put our foot down on the gas, and we don't let up until the very end. The first weapon we talked about was the Pentatonic 48. It is a rocket launcher, and what was interesting about this section, and really all of the other sections, is I had to do a lot of problem solving. Most of the concepts that I had were not really possible, as far as I could tell, to convey with the limitations of game capture. So what does that mean? There's a lot of stuff that you can't do. I can't get a third-person shot of my character. I can't get close-ups on enemies. I can't do a 360 pan around my character and then transition into first person. There's just so many things that I can't do with the limitations of game capture, but there's also so much that can be done. So originally for the Pentatonic 48 section, I wanted to convey the weight and the heft of a rocket launcher and then just transition into the sales pitch, but it didn't work. There was no way for me to really convey that, because all of the weapons feel like they're the same weight in Destiny 2. When you're using a rocket launcher, you don't walk slower. You don't have a change in your walking animation, so there's no real way to show that weight. But there was another idea that fit in with the script that worked a little bit better than conveying that weight. So in the script, let me pull it up and read out the line. Because what the script was saying wound up being vitally important to the idea that I came up with for the pentatonic 48. So, like every artist, the men and women at Suros like to create multiple iterations of their weapons. So, we start with that concept. Multiple iterations, numbers, counting. What if we count up to 48? Well, that's going to take too long. We can skip some numbers. 1, 2, 3, 48. That's where the concept was born from, and we wound up with this really simple, like 10-second segment that it hits you hard. It hits you hard the first time you watch it, because when you see 1, 2, 3, the first thing that you think is going to come after that is either go or 1, 2, 3 start, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But 1, 2, 3, 48, it makes you think a little bit. It puts you on your toes. You get a little surprised, and then we segue into the script and the discussion of the video. So I guess what's really fascinating is that even though I didn't get to convey what I originally wanted, it was a good thing, because I ended up with a stronger introduction to the weapon, something that was a bit more cohesive to the script, and that's pretty cool. Another really important thing for these videos, and to make them feel like a real commercial, something that you'd see on TV, was the music selection. I couldn't go with anything slow. Everything had to feel, it had to feel like a commercial, man. And if you're selling a rocket launcher or a shotgun or a pistol, you got to have energy to you. You got to have some sort of kick, and the music really helped me to get into that mood of, yeah, you're gonna buy this when we're done with the conversation. So moving on to the good bone structure, this one was a challenging section because it involved audio sync, and that's one of my favorite techniques to use, is syncing the actions and the sound effects that are going on screen with the music. I will have a little sprinkle of that in every single video I do for the most part, but I try not to be egregious with it. I try not to keep it in every single frame, and for the good bone structure, I tried very, very hard to make it so that there was audio sync in parts of the video, but it wasn't monotonous, because it's very easy for me to go in and say, okay, I want every action that's on screen to sync up with the music. And we saw that in the, if you think back to the 50 Shades of Grey video and the Niflheim Frost, there was so much audio sync in that section. And even the Polaris Lance that came as the finale for that video, there was a bunch of audio sync in it, and it was executed really well. But if I do that in every single video, if I just have it coming out of your noses and your ears, just stuffed to the brim with that style, then it gets a little boring, gets a little monotonous. It's like, oh, we've seen this before. Show us something else. Is that all you know how to do? Well, no, it's not the only thing I know how to do. So I tried very hard to divvy up the audio sync and make it feel like, okay, it's coming and it's here, and when it's in full force, it's something special. But what I'm trying to say, because I can never speak correctly when I'm doing these things, but what I'm trying to say is that when there is audio sync in the good bone structure shotgun section of the video, you feel it, because it hasn't been happening throughout the whole video. So the first taste of it that we see is right when the section starts. We get the reload sound effect, and then the shotgun blast opens the clip. And then for about 5 to 10 seconds, there's no audio sync, but right before we fade to black, shotgun blast. So that is given these little small tastes of audio sync, so that you say, ooh, everything lined up there, but the whole thing isn't lining up, so it's not monotonous. And then we see little bits and pieces of the rest of the section with audio sync, and then just moving away from it. But then when we go into the full-blown cinematic section, this I don't know how much I was really trying to sell the gun for the cinematic section for the good bone structure, as I was just trying to make something that looks cool. I think the sale part of this section came at the beginning when we first introduced it. The script is talking about, oh, you thought we were going into sniper territory. Nah, fam, we're going shotgun. So the sale was sort of at the beginning. The pitch was at the beginning. And then when we get to the meat and potatoes with the cinematic section, it's all about just pretty visuals. And there wasn't anything overly fancy about this section either. It was just a mixture of slow motion and normal speed. And it worked out well. There wasn't anything all too crazy about it. But as we move into the next weapon in the next section of the video, the dead man walking sidearm. This was the hardest section to make in the entire video. And it was difficult because I had a concept, and the concept could not be changed. There was no discovery to be made because I knew what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to do anything besides exactly what I wanted to do. So it's always a bit difficult when I have an idea that I don't want to deviate from at all. But having that challenge is also pretty exciting. So the premise for the dead man walking pistol is that it's a secondary weapon. It's a backup. You pull it out in emergencies. What kind of emergencies exist in the Destiny 2 universe? Well, maybe you're getting chased by a bunch of giant robots. That's an emergency as far as I'm concerned. So what I had to do for this section was find visuals and music that made me feel like I'm rushing. I had to build this sense of, oh my God, they're going to get me, they're going to get me, they're going to get me. And finding the right song for this section was vitally important to its success. And one thing that I had a problem with when I was trying to make this is I wanted to have clips of Vex, like close-ups of them, having them walking towards the camera. And I even tried to go in and do that third-person trick where you do an emote, or you take out a weapon that forces third-person perspective to see if I could get clips of Vex walking towards me and weave those shots in with the shots of me running away. But it didn't work. The Vex, they were shooting at my character, and I kept dying, and I was taking too much damage, and the AI just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So I had to figure out a different way to build up that tension and make it feel like there's a lot of shit chasing after me, and I got to get away from it. But another element to this was that it had to be a little bit playful as well. It had to have this kind of James Bond, Mission Impossible kind of feel, or even Pink Panther. There was a song that I had in mind for this video when I was writing the script. I think it was called the Pink Panther Jive. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. So I wanted the song to have this kind of Pink Panther, Mission Impossible vibe to it, and the original song that I wrote the script to for that section of the video was called Pink Panther Jive, because there had to be a certain air of playfulness to the section to make it seem like, okay, we're in trouble and we're gonna die if we get caught, but also, come on, this gun is really cool, right? And I gotta make you want to buy it, so I don't want the music to feel overly threatening and overly ominous. And these James Bondy, Mission Impossible, exciting chase songs fit with that energy really well. So I will just let you hear a little snippet of the Pink Panther Jive song, the song that was originally going to be for the Dead Man Walking pistol section. And then you will see the finished product with the song that I ended up choosing, which I believe is called Roughness. And, you know, you could tell me which one you like better. Do you like the Pink Panther Jive better, or do you like Roughness? It's hard to say. I mean, I can really see the video working either way, but I think Roughness might have been. It was a little bit more action movie. I think the Roughness song, is it called Roughness? Yeah, the song is called Roughness. I think Roughness had a little bit more of that action movie feel to it. I think the Roughness song was almost like a Jackie Chan fight scene in the sense that it's serious, but it's also kind of goofy at the same time. You know, we're hitting people with chairs and breaking laptops on people's faces, but we're also whooping ass. So yeah, that was a fun section, and conveying that manic fear, but also the excitement of, all right, I'm taking my last stand, whether you want me to or not. That energy came across, as well as the salesman pitch. I'll tell you a funny story. That's not a funny story. I'll tell you a story. In one of my last projects in college, I had to do a presentation about we had to come up with a company and design an ad campaign for the company. And my company was a women's shoes company. I didn't choose that. They chose it for me, I think. I hope I didn't choose that. I don't know. But either way, I had a women's shoe company. And my premise for the company was that they sold custom colored shoes. So whatever color of the rainbow you wanted, you could order that shoe of a custom color. And the way I started the presentation was by asking different people in the class what their favorite color is. So I always thought it was cool to go into a situation or a pitch meeting where you're trying to sell somebody something and start by either asking a question or asking the audience to imagine something, which is what we did in the Dead Man Walking video, just to get their mind thinking about a specific thing. And for this Dead Man Walking section of the video, all right, think about this. You're being chased by a bunch of giant robots. You don't got no ammo left in your guns, and you're scared out of your mind, and you're gonna die unless you've got this pistol with you. And I think that was a strong sales pitch. If I was sitting in a room and somebody was trying to sell me on that pistol, I would have bought it at the end of it. But that's just me. Now, as we move into the end of the video, the Suros regime section, this is without a doubt the least powerful section of the video, and I think the biggest problem with this section is, well, I want to say it would have benefited from more of a, quote, director's cut approach, end quote. And what I mean by that is the section was a little bit too short. And why was it too short? Well, for the entirety of the video, we're operating on all motherfucking cylinders. We are going hard, and I'm trying to sell you this stuff. And as we transition into the Suros regime, things were a little bit more emotional, a little bit more spiritual. The music is different. The tone of the video is completely different. And I don't think I left enough time for people's mindsets to shift from, okay, we're totally selling you this, to now we're on a bit of a journey here. Things are getting kind of emotional. Because the premise for this section is that the Suros regime, it's not great at anything, but this weapon can do literally everything. Because of all the different perks in it, it will do everything. And that it was kind of an emotional concept in the sense that the cinematic section for the Suros regime is showing off all of the really powerful and exciting guns in the game, and showcasing that the Suros regime has a little bit of that essence within it. And that's a deep concept. But it takes a minute for your brain to shift from, ooh, what are you going to sell me next? Into, okay, let's get emotional. Let's go on a journey. So I think if I wanted to make this Suros regime section of the video better, it would have had to be a little bit longer. As of right now, it's 5:20 to about... It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which I think is still the longest section in the video. But it could have been a little bit longer. The cinematic section could have definitely benefited from being longer, because I don't think the power of the song was able to convey in the 10 seconds that was there. There wasn't enough time to allow it to build and become a crescendo and to get really strong, and for you to feel like, oh, I see what he's talking about. I get it now. And you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if I did convey to you the concepts well, then screw me. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do kind of wish I had a director's cut version of this where the Suros regime gets talked about for a good 3 full minutes with multiple cinematic sections and just really pushing out the beauty of the weapon. But overall, I think in the 10-second cinematic that did exist in the video in its current form, conveying that the Suros regime has something in common with all these other guns worked out well. And this is one of my favorite things to do as well, in addition to audio sync, is to blend together a single stream of actions across multiple environments. So we start off with the sweet business. We're revving up the gun and we're just mowing down as many enemies as we can. Then we transition into the Suros regime, doing the exact same thing to varying degrees of effectiveness. Then we pull out to hip fire, and we transition over to the Huckleberry, which is a submachine gun that is just used to slay and mow down endless fields of enemies. And we're doing that in the clip. Transition again back to the Suros regime, mowing down a field of enemies. Then we transition back to aiming down sights where the fire rate is lowered. Then we switch to a Hake high impact auto rifle with that low rate of fire, just thud, thud, thud. Big hits, big damage coming out on the enemies. And then we go back into the actual proper gameplay footage with the UI, and the Suros regime is firing in that low rate of fire, thudding at the enemies. So, I mean, the concept is there. I just wish I did a director's cut and just said, fuck it, you're going to sit here and you're going to watch 30 seconds of just fancy clips on the screen. But I did feel, to a certain degree, that was a little bit too indulgent. I try not to go overboard with it. But, you know, overall, it worked. But I guess me, the artist within me, the artist with a capital A within me, wishes this portion of the video was a bit longer. But yeah, overall, this video as a whole, I can definitely confidently give myself an 8 on this one. I think maybe I could have done stuff better with the introduction. Maybe I could have made it pop a little bit more. Could have found a different style for it. But as far as trying to sell these guns in every section, feeling a little bit like a commercial, a sales pitch of some kind, that definitely worked out. It definitely had that vibe to it. The script, the edits and all that. I could definitely see any one of these sections as a YouTube commercial, something in between a rerun of Martin or whatever. I could see it working out in that way. And I hope you enjoyed this one, because this one was a lot of fun. We've got so we're gonna wrap it up here, and we've got plenty more Destiny 2 Foundry favorite videos and exotic reviews coming. I'm gonna do one more Foundry favorites video for now, and then when Forsaken comes out, there's gonna be plenty more stuff for that. Gonna be a bunch of new exotics for that, but there's also a special event going on in Destiny 2 for the summer. It's called the Summer Solstice event or something like that, and I might do some just kind of Let's Play style content for that and other things. But as always, though, I'm gonna continue doing these Foundry favorites and these big, heavily edited, heavily scripted videos, and I'm always going to come out afterwards and talk about my creative process and have a little fun explaining the behind the scenes stuff. So I do hope you guys are enjoying this. We're going to wrap it up here by saying the name of the game is Destiny 2. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know how you felt about my salesman style for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.